Most experts agree that 1 is a number. And so I have done a number of talks like this before, but always in character as the fabled YouTube superhero Captain Disillusion, debunker of fake viral videos, explainer of visual effects, or sometimes as his adorably nervous intern, Alan. But not today, because this is Skepticon, one of those skeptic conferences that has skeptic right in the name. So I know you're not interested in all this tongue-in-cheek, fluff. You want facts and figures and practical advice on how to communicate critical thinking online. So that is what I will attempt to give you today as just myself, just Alan Hiligjanian, a humble filmmaker, creator, producer, director, editor, and writer of a YouTube series some have described as legendary. So a little bit of background on myself. Aided by graduate degrees in several scientific disciplines and a lifelong deep commitment to skeptical inquiry, I spent a number of years developing the concept for Captain Disillusion through extensive market research. The makeup and wardrobe went through several stages of design, and the whole symbolic meaning behind the character, the meeting of illusion versus reality, it was all worked out well in advance before the first episode ever went up on YouTube. To this day, there are tiny clues dispersed throughout the episodes to give you tiny inklings. I'm so sorry. These are the wrong slides. I'm just going to pull up the correct version of the presentation. Bear with me, I'm sorry. Okay, this is that one. Okay, sorry about that. As I was saying, I begin a typical episode with the following introduction.
Greetings, children, it's me, Captain Disillusion.
Now, that makes it seem like you're watching some sort of cult classic 90s children's program, and that's not true. I mean, sometimes I curse and there are kind of adult jokes here and there, so it's a little bit misleading. But I do that because in the minds of my audience, which is predominantly men ages 25 to 34, this evokes an emotion called nostalgia. And this emotion has been known to create an illusion of quality and substance where there might otherwise be not that much of it. So normally, I then go on to introduce some sort of strange, unusual, unexplainable video from the internet.
And then there's this bizarre traffic sighting, the Russian ghost car. While making a routine turn at an intersection, some drivers are cut off by a car that springs up out of nowhere, causing the mildest accident of all time. My mind is getting blown harder and harder with every in-run, every takeoff, and every knoll. How do they do it?
It just showed a young girl floating in the woods. Could such a thing have been faked?
Of course. And I go on to analyze the details in the video, looking for evidence of fakery.
Let's completely stabilize the position, rotation, and scale of the floating girl, like some on YouTube have already done, but better, and watch it rotate on an endless loop until we've achieved a state of pure skeptical enlightenment. I'm starting to see some meandering artifacts behind her head, and whatever that is at the base of her leg. And when I stabilize the part on the ground, there's like a giant hole in her coat or something.
But I don't just theorize, I go in and I explain the details of the visual effects work.
The porta potty scene is also made of 2 pieces, but not in the way you might expect. The tape throw is real, assisted by a wire run through the door handle and pulled from the inside. But when the door opens, the wire operator is masked from our view by a different take of an actor on the toilet. In both takes, the door was opened at about the same speed, and any slight discrepancy was easy enough to adjust on the tape measure. But it wasn't so easy once the toilet guy starts to close the door in his take. In the thrower's take, the door stayed open, so we see the real tape measure suddenly replaced with a stretchy, animated mess that follows the door back. It wrongly connects to the door at the edge instead of the handle, and peeking above it, we can see the wire that actually pulled the door open in the toilet guy's tape.
And I'm not above explaining innocent illusions that were never meant to fool anyone, such as this.
What seems like a toss into the mirror and back is actually two identical bounces against the mirror. During the first, the camera follows into the reflection. During the second, it follows back to the hand. Of course, there's a second copy of the ball visible during every part of the journey. And often the best use of visual effects is not to add things into the scene, but to subtly take existing things away. Some judicious frame-by-frame cloning of the background is enough to hide the real ball during the second half of the first bounce and the reflected ball during the return bounce. Okay, let's give this a try. Whoop. Oh, God!
Okay, that doesn't always happen. People all over the world watch my videos and they ask me, how do you do it, Alan? How do you figure these things out in such detail? How are you so amazing? And I say, stop it. I mean, I don't know. I guess I just observe the world in a slightly different way. I guess I notice things that others don't, and I'm able to surpass my assumptions, because we all make assumptions, let's face it. You know, you've seen this skeptical presentations before. For instance, did you guys realize that this whole time, I haven't been talking into a handheld microphone? There's nothing in my hand. And there's a secret microphone installed on my face. And I hate to blow your mind, but there are no lenses in my glasses. They're just empty frames. These are the kind of high-level detective skills that I apply in my work. And ladies and gentlemen, after 10 years on YouTube and over 500,000 subscribers and 33 million views, I've noticed a pattern. I'm always right, and everyone else is always wrong. How many of you here are involved in YouTube skepticism in some way? Nobody. Awesome. Okay, one person. Well, still, would this ability to always be right, like me, be helpful to you in your skeptical endeavors? Yes. Okay. Well, I'm not sure I could teach raw talent, but I can give you a few practical pointers. Number one, try to only talk about things about which you know about. Yesterday, I had the privilege of being part of a panel. Anybody here saw it? Okay, awesome. So you know how it went. The panel consisted of Dr. Brad Mackay, a medical doctor and a host of television and an author. Sonia Pemberton, an Emmy-winning producer, director, and creator of all kinds of documentaries on science and medical topics. And of course, guy who shoots videos at his parents' house for YouTube. Now, don't get me wrong, I was honored to be part of it, and it was exhilarating trying to come up with little quips to insert between the brilliant things these people had to say. But I think most people kind of could tell that one of these things is not like the others. And that's okay. That's fine, because you know what? On my YouTube channel, I'm the smart one, okay? Because I'm the only one there. And I talk about things that I know, which are visual effects. And visual effects are very complicated. They involve motion tracking, image stabilization, compositing, computer graphics, compositing, motion tracking, and compositing, and computer graphics, okay? I've been figuring out a way to talk about the same 4 fucking things for 10 years. Where's my Emmy? That's what I say. Okay, so stick to what you know, and then you don't have to try too hard. Which brings me to number 2. Since you're talking about things on which you're an expert, try not to make any mistakes ever. I mean, is that too much to ask? Let's say you were making fun of a very successful Vine star and visual effects artist, and you compared him to a turn-of-the-century filmmaker by saying something like the following.
There's really not much Zach King does that Georges Méliès didn't do 112 years ago.
Okay, so if you're going to do that type of thing, that kind of gambit, it's important to remember to not pretend that you know French. Because, of course, it's not Georges Méliès, it's Georges Méliès. The S is right there. And, you also saw a movie about it, a big Hollywood movie, where they say the guy's name like 1,000,000 times. So that shouldn't be a mistake, okay? Keep track of little details like that, because honestly, the magnitude of even the tiniest mistakes is kind of directly proportional to how smug you are when you make it, right? For instance, you know how light tends to be either like warm or cool, and we measure that in degrees Kelvin, and usually tungsten indoor light is like 3,200 degrees Kelvin, daylight tends to be 5,600 degrees Kelvin, and cameras have like settings for that, white balance settings, and if you get that wrong on the camera, it could look kind of weird and create all kinds of anomalies. So if you're doing a video about how this stuff caused a dress to appear a weird color to a lot of people, and you're being a funny character, and you're derisively calling everybody an idiot who saw it differently, try not to then maybe write 32,000 degrees and 56,000 degrees Kelvin, because, that's a whole other color, and you're just kind of adding yourself into the moron pool at that point. So mistakes, mistakes can happen, and they become even more important if other people are involved. YouTubers collaborate, and you might have a guest. Let's say, hypothetically, you had a guest in your YouTube video. Someone like a founding father of modern skeptical activism, James the Amazing Randi, let's say, for example, you had him. And you had him participate in your video, which was like a parody of the movie Contact, and he's like a mentor figure who helped you figure out the secret behind a popular viral ghost video, right? But he's just acting in your video. He's not doing deconstruction himself, so he relies on you to figure it out correctly and write the script for him to say the stuff. So I would recommend not to then, for the first time in your YouTube career, get the explanation completely wrong and make James Randi say the wrong thing instead of yourself. Now, I know memory can be faulty, and we can kind of remember things backwards, so I just want to reiterate, I'm saying don't do that, not do that, okay? Guests, it's difficult. Let's say your guest was an actor who portrayed a very iconic character from a children's educational TV show in America. You know how Americans say Dr. Carl is the Bill Nye of Australia. Well, this guy, Beekman, from Beekman's World, is the Bill Nye of America. He used to have like a sort of a show that kind of started a little bit before Bill Nye. And so you got this guy 20 years later to put on back his costume, his lab coat, and you made yourself his sidekick. And together you guys explained how perpetual motion machines are impossible. Right? And so you again did the research, because this guy's just an actor, and you figured out all the script, and you made this iconic scientist guy say to the kids the following.
Opposite poles of two magnets attract. The closer they get to each other, the more the two magnetic fields interact and potential energy increases.
Did anybody catch the slight discrepancy there? A little mistake, maybe? Yeah. As magnets get closer, potential energy actually decreases, right? You notice that? Yeah. So did all of the internet, all of it at the same time. So, these kind of things can happen, and you might think that, well, I guess it's over. I failed. I wasn't always right. But that is where you're wrong, because you are not wrong. Because here's advice number 3. You can, with almost any opinion, kind of look at it a certain way where you might find an angle where you're not 100% wrong, maybe like 1% right. And what you want to do is grab onto that opinion and just kind of defend it on the forum that is designed for this purpose, which is YouTube comment sections. So with the Beekman situation, maybe somebody intelligent and nice might make a comment and say, hey, I love your video, I love what you do, the Beekman thing is amazing, but there's a slight error there, and potential energy decreases as they get closer, so I just wanted to flag that for you. That's it. You know what you have to do. You have to say, just as nicely, actually, thank you, but it is you who is somewhat mistaken, sir. What you see, as magnets get farther, yes, potential energy increases, but until they leave their spheres of influence, and what Beekman was talking about is that when they reach each other, just say whatever it is your baby brain thinks how it works, because maybe the guy doesn't know. But then another guy might chime in and say, oh, well, actually, no, that's not how physics works. Magnets never lose influence on each other, even if they're at opposite ends of the universe. And what you say to that, okay, here's another technique. You just go, but Wikipedia. I saw a thing on Wikipedia that kind of sounds like something that I'm saying. And the two gentlemen will proceed to kind of gently educate you how you're completely wrong, because at least one of them happens to be a physics teacher and you are actually not. So you're going to be overcome at this point with an overwhelming desire to just go, guys, I am sorry. You're right, of course. We just goofed up, and I'll put your comment at the top so that we make the correction. But resist that urge, okay? Don't do it. Don't say anything at all. You can just keep going, and other people will join the conversation. It will kind of veer off, and you can just kind of slink away. And the important thing is that nobody has to admit that anyone was wrong about anything. Now, that's kind of a gentle approach. Sometimes you have to be a little more aggressive. Let's say that you kind of thoughtlessly made a kind of visual gag at the beginning of one of your videos where you were showing sort of annoying examples of people on YouTube, and one of them was this feminist speaker and stuff that you kind of saw, oh, people make fun of her, and you don't know what's going on, you don't know, I guess I'll make fun of her too, and you kind of sort of inadvertently contributed some sort of online harassment, and someone understandably might make a comment like this. They might say, gosh, I was really disappointed to see that. That was really unexpected. It's not like you, and it's strange that you would kind of feed the trolls a little bit. It really disappointed me, and I kind of want to unsubscribe. And this, you know what you have to do. You have to be aggressive here. You have to go, how freaking dare you? You're going to make me say it? Fine, I'll say it. I am a feminist, okay? How dare you accuse me of feeding the trolls? Did you even see the couple of videos I have where there are girls in them? And also, did you know that there are girls behind the scenes? My girlfriend is a girl, for God's sake. I'll have you know that the female viewership of my videos is at an all-time high of 4%. And by the way, I am friends with Rebecca Watson, kind of. I haven't talked to her in 7 years, but still. So, don't you tell me I'm a bad feminist. I don't have the bravery to show you the real rest of my comment, but I did say some version of all those things, and I suggested that he unsubscribe, and I finished it with literally the words, to quote Sherlock, you repel me. What I'm saying is I totally owned that guy. I pwned him. You understand? And you can too, by following my powerful techniques. But a word of warning, with great power comes the thing that, you have to be responsible with it. It's possible to maybe potentially cause a slight, oh my God, I'm sorry. This is what I was trying to warn you about, okay? Use them properly. These techniques can lead to a chain of events that result in a very dangerous spatial anomaly that threatens to tear this entire community apart. Oh God, it's here. Everyone, please stay back. Stay back, be careful. It's the skeptic asshole singularity. Oh God. Please, everyone, exit the theater. It's a dangerous black hole of social nastiness that threatens to envelop even the most brilliant and intelligent of us, making them just a little bit less admirable. No! I'm Harris. No, don't do it. We want to like you. Oh God. No. Oh, Dr. Dawkins, I can't do this. No, don't look at it. Think. No. Is there any chance to even avoid its horrible gravitational pull? Pull up, pen. Pull up. Yes, it is possible to change your tone. But I fear so many on YouTube haven't got the memo. Oh God, skeptic after skeptic, atheist after atheist, succumbing to the anomaly. I can't let this happen. I have to do something. Maybe I can help them. Maybe I can. Oh God, how could I have been so blind? I'm part of this, aren't I? I gotta do something. I gotta change. I won't let it get me. I have to commit here and now and resolve to say that I refuse to be a dick! Okay. Guys, I'm sorry. I've been thinking these last few seconds, and I think I should amend my advice to you. Yes, sure, stick to what you know, stick to your area of expertise, but don't stay too narrow. Maybe expand into other ideas and other topics, and maybe don't stay with too niche an audience, because it might lead to kind of an echo chamber. And yes, try not to make mistakes. If you do, celebrate that. Maybe kind of make it into a learning experience for you and your audience. And of course, the third one, where you try to weasel out of appearing wrong and maybe refusing to go with the zeitgeist of changing ideas. Maybe let's not do that, because it's kind of a dick move. But I know that changes kind of the nature of the entire advice that I'm trying to give you here, but I'm afraid this is the best I can do. And honestly, I'm more of kind of a airheaded, sort of artsy person, if you can't tell. I even dumbed the advice down a little bit more. I kind of have my own checklist of what I want to include in my content, which comes down to kind of a cheesy thing, the 3 H's. One is humor, right? Obvious. We know you make people laugh, and they can relax, and they can be more open to new ideas. And I'm not saying I'm the only skeptic that uses humor. The cognitive dissonance guys are kind of funny. But I would argue that skeptics are just really good at making each other laugh. We've been in here, we've laughed a lot. We point out there and we say, this is, look at how ridiculous the believers are. Look at how ridiculous those ideas are, the charlatans. That's fine. But when we leave this little huddle and we go out there and we try to change people's minds, can we be funny to them? Can we, speak on their level and make them relax and make them laugh? Secondly, humility, also kind of obvious. I mean, we embrace the scientific method. We say things are subject to change. We know things, but if we find new evidence, we will change our views, and we celebrate that. That's kind of at the essence of being a skeptic. But if you went out there and you surveyed people, I don't think they would say that humility is part of the skeptic brand at all. So, and I mean, it doesn't make sense because we do embrace that idea, and maybe it's just kind of an image problem, and it can be addressed. And lastly, hope. Also kind of cheesy, but I think when you're trying to tear people away from, the ideas they hold dear, it's not just simple ideas. These are things in which they've placed all their hopes and dreams, and this is where their stuff resides. If you're trying to get them away from those things, you have to give them something to put their hope into and their whole identity into. So I don't think we spend enough time kind of saying, why is critical thinking good? I mean, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. I think that's useful. I mean, I try to be funny in a way that is kind of universal and understood by any kind of person. My character is extremely conceited and cranky and derisive toward people, but this is a satire to say that's kind of silly. Yes, this guy is smart, but also a jerk, and you don't want to be that. And I like to think that whatever crazy thing I showed in a video of mine, people watch it and they walk away with this up feeling, maybe that's fun that I learned that, that's kind of goofy, and I think everything's going to be okay. I try to project those 3 things, in all my content. I know that it works, at least in my case. I see it in the feedback that I get. I get messages sometimes, from young people saying, hey, you changed the way I kind of perceive media and the way I consume media online. This year I had a couple of students write me from different parts of the world asking, hey, can I interview you for, I have an assignment to interview a person I admire, can I do that? And I was like, of course, fuck no, I'm not going to do that. I don't have time for that. But it was very sweet. And I have more solid metrics. For instance, the influx of Captain D Halloween costumes every year. These poor kids probably had to spend their entire evening answering the question, who the hell are you supposed to be? But they did it anyway. And that's admirable. As well as the influx of amazing fan art that people send me. And, it does make me realize that I do have kind of a resting asshole face myself. But still, the talent on display is admirable. So, and of course, I can tell by just the overall increase in social media following that I receive, especially on Twitter. And I just want to tell you something about Twitter in particular. As your following grows, this may happen to you. You get increasingly obsessed with maintaining your identity, and you beg Twitter, and they give you a verified badge. And this changes things a little bit, because what happens is you have a new filter in your feed that is for verifieds. And you can click it, and it will filter away all the riffraff of regular people and just show you other verifieds. And other verifieds, in turn, will notice you. And, verifieds, my people, are very courteous. And we don't just follow each other in silence. We send courtesy messages to each other. And we say things like, hello, nice to meet you, I like your work and stuff. So as your growth on social media happens, this will happen to you. Someone who has like 16 times your following, someone from the world of comedy and entertainment, someone who has accomplished more things than you on YouTube as well as on television, will follow you. And they will send you a courtesy message. And that message might be some version of the following. Howdy, fella. I didn't realize I wasn't following you on here, but super thrilled to meet you. You've been one of my favorite creators for 8 or 9 years now. You're also the only skeptic that hasn't turned out to be an utterly horrible person. Thank you for your work. You know what you have to do. You have to reply. So you roll up your sleeves, you crack your knuckles, and you get at the keyboard, and you say, hi, thank you, very kind of you to say. I'm ashamed to admit I'm just discovering your work, but I'm finding it brilliant. Kudos on your tremendous success. Thank you for listening.